Ho ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. Last time we're in the middle of the... what's it called? It's called the Moon and Sun ending. Yua has entered the equation and she has kidnapped Takumi in his own little flat and tied him up and has been talking at him non-stop in an attempt to avenge her sister, who died in the group dive incident. She has now been talking for days, it seems like, and has now fallen asleep, and this is Takumi's opportunity to escape. And before he's escaping, though, he's Takumi, so he's having a load of depraved thoughts and duplicitous plans that we're hoping that he doesn't act out on. Let's find out. Let's go. I peeked at Yua's sleeping face once more. Her eyelids twitched erratically, and her face contorted in a pained expression. Then from the corner of her eye, a single tear ran down her cheek. Could she be having a nightmare about her dead sister?
Taki, aren't you going to make her your slave?
After seeing her shed a tear like that, I'd already lost the drive.
Even after she'd had you all locked up and bondaged up? Oh, Taki, you're so noble, so kind too. Heck, too kind. That's one of the things I love about you. But maybe you should think about doing away with all of that just this once, considering how perfect this opportunity is.
That's not what I meant. Of course I wasn't going to forgive Yua that easily. I just didn't have the strength to be angry with her, nor to even resist at all. It was all gone. Completely sapped. Was it because of the huge release in tension, or could it have been because she told me about her little sister? It didn't really feel like Yua wanted to hurt me or anything. Weird as that might sound. Suddenly I was struck with an intense drowsiness, and so I surrendered my body to the feeling, allowing myself to forget, if only for a moment, the pain my bound wrists were being tortured by. I'll think of a way out of this later. As soon as I woke up, I knew something was off. Like something was missing. Still half asleep, I looked around my room. I tried to stand up, but the rope coiled around my wrists dug in deep, and the sheer pain stopped me in my tracks. The pain immediately reminded me that I was tied up, and the one who that had done so was Yua. Oh. Yua wasn't there. So that's what had felt off. I was the only one in the room. Where'd she gone? Had she gone to make food? Or to use the bathroom? I didn't know how many days it had been since Yua locked me in here, but what I did know was that neither of us had been to school the entire time. We only went outside to use the bathroom or cook something. I wasn't even allowed to take a shower. I let out a heavy sigh. Yua should come back any minute now. And when she did, she'd start watching me all over again. Had Yua always been this stubborn? Or was it the hatred and regret she felt from her sister's death that made her start acting this way? Or I wonder, Takumi. Regardless, how could I make her understand that I wasn't Shogun? Maybe I could show her the messages Shogun had sent me, if they were still on my PC anyway. Well, let's be honest, we were long past that. Yua was fully devoted to the delusional bullshit she'd come up with. I doubted she'd even believe me if I'd show them to her. I needed something more concrete, something to convince her that Shogun and I were two completely different people. If only he would just show up here, then there'd be no denying it. That'd kind of suck for me if that happened, though. I didn't want him anywhere near me. Besides, if he came to my base, it'd probably be to kill me.
Come on, Taki. You've got to hightail it out of here. I can't start watching this judgmental, violent stalker girl bully you like this.
Thank you, Sarah. But I can't run. I can't untie myself on my own. I'd obviously already made my fair share of attempts to escape, but my struggle had proved futile. Yua's knots were tight, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't even get them to budge.
If only I was a 3D girl, then I could just come on down and rescue you right away, Taki.
I don't know. As great as escaping sounds on paper, Sarah, I think just doing whatever she says, like I've been doing it, is the far safer option. If I tried to escape and failed, it could make Yua go berserk. Whenever Yua lost her temper, it was crazy how scary she got. I was going to do everything I could not to provoke her.
Wow, you're really taking your time to think up the best way to keep your head on your shoulders, aren't you, Taki? You're so amazing! But you know, I really don't want you to stay in the same room for much longer.
As much as I hated to admit it, as long as I was tied up, I was entirely dependent on Yua to survive. Luckily, she hadn't been violent with me at all yet. She'd even cooked for me and let me use the bathroom whenever I asked. She was still treating me like a human being. And I was sure that once she finally understood that no matter how long she waited, Shogun wouldn't come out, she'd let me go. Hell, even better, I was sure she'd beg me for forgiveness. Of course, I'd make her get down on hands and knees, or else what'd be the point? And while we're at it, I could accidentally grab her tits too. And then it'd all be forgiven. You would go back to her own life and I'd go on with mine. She'd never see me again and I'd never see her again. So at the very least, the Yua threat would disappear completely, or if I was very lucky, then there was the chance that she would have changed her heart and end up joining my party. Shogun was still real and very much a problem, so Yua could step up and replace Rimi as my protector. It'd be better than nothing. We even had some common ground. Above all else, Yua resented the new gen culprit, and therefore Shogun. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yua's interests and mine coincided. I'm so smart. I'm kind of a genius, TBH.
Yep, you're a bona fide genius, Taki. You know, keep this up and I might just fall head over heels for you.
And so I decided to ride this storm out. Takumi's first mistake. Okay, where the hell was she? Yua still hadn't shown any signs of coming back. It's been a good while since she'd left. I knew for a fact that at least a few hours had passed. Probably. Where in the world had she gone? Sure as hell wasn't the toilet. I could also rule out that she'd been grabbing dinner, since there was no way it would have taken this long. Every time she'd gone out to buy us food, she just went to the nearest supermarket and came back shortly after. So where was she? Had she gone to school? I didn't even know what time it was right now, but if it was around noon, then it was certainly possible. It was certainly a possibility. If I could have just looked at the minimum attendance chart, then I would have been able to know what day it was instantly. It would have told me a lot, really. For example, if you had kept me locked up for 3 days straight, and the first day had been Friday, that would explain why she'd been able to stay here and not go to school. Because it had been the weekend. In other words, today was Monday, and you had gone to school. That had to be it. It had to. What day had it been when you had broken into my room again? My consciousness was already foggy as hell, so I couldn't remember clearly. But what if she hadn't gone to school? What if she'd gone back home, for example? These days, every slut in high school would stay out overnight without asking their parents, but Yua wasn't like that. Jesus Christ, Takumi. Even if she hadn't gotten permission, staying over at my place for who knows how many nights would have definitely made her parents worry, so knowing that, she'd gone back home in order to pacify them. Probably. That made a lot of sense, actually. Well, regardless of where she'd gone off to, she had to come back eventually. So it'd be my best interest to stay put and conserve my energy. Letting out a small sigh, I closed my eyes, might as well get some sleep. She's not coming back, is she? I couldn't sleep. I closed my eyes and tried my hardest to doze off for hours on end, but I just couldn't manage it. I couldn't manage to. I ended up just staring at the door, torturing myself over whether or not Yua would ever come back. There was a bit of a windstorm going on outside, so the door rattled faintly, every once in a while. Whenever it did, I'd immediately open my eyes thinking that Yua had come back. But no matter how many times I thought that, she still hadn't. I was left all alone in this container, tied up like an animal. Since she was taking her sweet time, I decided that I might as well try to break out of the restraints on my wrists. The rope that bound me to the leg of the bed was made of nylon, which was why I thought that maybe with enough force I could break free, and so I poured all my strength into my arms. But it was no use. The rope didn't even budge, or maybe I was just too weak. After all, I was a pretty big weakling in general, an otaku freak that did nothing but play video and surf the web all day long. There was no way I could have broken that cord like some kind of movie protagonist. Tearing the cord with just arm strength alone was obviously impossible, so I tried to think of some other way. Obviously, it would have been really easy if I had a knife or something, but unfortunately I had no such luck. The only things I could see around me were magazines, manga, CDs, empty box lunches, that kind of stuff. It's no use. I was hopeless. I couldn't even snap a single piece of nylon string on my own. You was coming back, right? I unintentionally voiced those thoughts out loud, meaning I was basically talking to myself.
Hey, Taki. I've been thinking, what if she abandoned you?
Abandoned me? As in Yua had left me here to rot? As in she wasn't planning to come back? She wasn't planning on coming back? If that was all true, I was screwed. Surely she hadn't just tied me up and expected me to survive on my own, right? If you're going to lock someone up, then you should realize you're responsible for them until you let them go. Come on. That was just common sense. No, she couldn't have abandoned me. I was overthinking it. Yua was definitely going to come back. She still hadn't uncovered Shogun's true identity, so surely she wouldn't give up yet. Yua would never abandon me. This is fine.
Hey, Taki, did you know this kind of thing's called Stockholm Syndrome?
Yes, I obviously know what Stockholm Syndrome is. But you're wrong. This isn't like that. My brain isn't dependent on Yua or anything. As if I would ever warm up to that mental case, let alone fall for her.
Okay, but didn't you just think a few minutes ago? I know what Yua must be going through. Something similar happened with Nanami after all. Come on, Taki. You know you can't hide you from any of your delusions from me.
Was I lying to myself? Was I just forcing myself to believe that I could trust Yua? Maybe I was. Stockholm Syndrome was a psychological phenomenon in which people deceive their own selves for the sake of survival. I've heard that it's not actually, like it's a myth, that it doesn't actually happen to people. Maybe it does. But what else could I do in this situation? I had no other choice, so I had to rely on Yua. Rimi had backed out and Nanami hadn't come to check on me for a long time now. My parents had let me know that they were worried about me via Nanami, but they never actually checked on me personally. And the only other person that knew I lived in this container was Yua, which meant the only person I could rely on was also Yua. Therefore, I had to lie to myself. It was the only way I could survive. I didn't want to die. I didn't want Yua to mistreat me, and didn't have the courage to resist her using force. So that was why I decided to just submit. I wouldn't resist, and then if I waited long enough, eventually she'd understand. That was the only way an otaku freak like me would be able to survive. I would trust in Yua. I would trust in her by lying to myself, and then I'd make it out of this without anyone getting hurt.
Come on, Taki. You and I both know you can't trust the four-eyed stalker girl. I know you're a real nice guy and all, but this is taking it a step too far.
For the first time in my life, I completely ignored what Serotan had to say. So, please, come back soon, Yua. You're coming back, right? There she is. And then it happened. Without warning, the door burst open. It caught me completely by surprise and I immediately froze. I could finally see outside. The sky was dyed orange by the setting sun, and there, obstructing my view of it, was Yua. I was relieved from the bottom of my heart to see her there. Realizing that I hadn't been abandoned nearly made me cry tears of joy. I was a little disgusted with how easily I'd been tamed, but my disgust was immediately overshadowed by the intense feeling of relief. Welcome back. I had no one else, so I was forced to be dependent on her. That was why something so fucking stupid had somehow come out of my mouth. But... Ooh.
You're a hindrance, Nishijoku-kun.
You're a hindrance, Nishijoku-kun. You know, the Grinch. Huh? Yua quickly walked over to me, crouched down to meet me at eye level, and then... she grabbed my hair and yanked on it hard. Thank God. Ah!
A hindrance. If only you didn't exist. Then Shogun would come out. Why do you exist? Have some self-respect. Let him take the reins for a while. There's no point in talking to you. You aren't the one I want to talk to. Bring him out. Bring out Shogun now.
Yua was acting weird. Okay, now she's acting weird, is she? Was she getting impatient because Shogun wouldn't come out? Did that mean she was going to resort to more drastic measures? This wasn't what I'd planned. I'd believed in her, I'd trusted that she wouldn't go berserk on me. Was she about to betray me again? Who am I kidding? I'm the only one who feels betrayed. I was forced to face reality. I decided to place my trust in Yua, all on my own. She never asked me to, not once. Had I just been naive? It was because I was an otaku freak and a shut-in too, wasn't it? I knew pretty much nothing about human interaction because of those things, so tricking me was like taking candy from a baby. If I was right about this, then I'd been right about everything. Nothing good could come from 3D. It was time for me to become a real shut-in, but this time I'd locked myself in the 2D world.
Look.
Yua thrusted something in front of my face. It was a notebook of some kind.
This is my little sister's diary. I went home to get it. Once you read this, you'll finally understand. You'll understand that even since before the group dive took place, Shogun, was already targeting Mia-chan.
Even since before?
She was being stalked. The goal of the group dive wasn't to kill the 5 of them. The other 4 were simply collateral. The real target was Mia-chan, and Mia-chan alone. Isn't that right? I'm right, aren't I? Shogun. Answer me. Come out and answer me now.
Yua's voice was getting more and more hysterical. My fear of her had come back full force. My heart was beating out of my chest. My entire body trembled. But even so, I still couldn't accept what Yua was accusing me of. It was just a bunch of delusions she'd come up with. Nothing but pure falsehoods. I'd never even met Yua's sister. I desperately shook my head from side to side, but she'd grabbed my hair so tight, the pain kept me from moving very much.
You still don't intend to come out?
Yua's face drew even closer, close enough to whisper in my ear. And then she brought the diary even closer to my face. This is Yua's diary.
Look at the pain you put Mia-chan through.
She forced me to look up. Then while still holding the diary with one hand, Yua started dexterously turning the pages. And what I saw written there sent a chill down my spine. What is this? What the hell is this?
This is the last page of her diary. The last page Mia ever wrote. Whose eyes are those eyes?
Date. September 6th. The very day before Mia died in the group dive. It's Shogun. He can read people's minds and control them.
What do you mean he can read people's minds and control them? Surely you don't expect me to believe that. Surely not. She was being stalked. By Shogun. By you.
I'm not Shogun, I swear.
Shogun exists inside you.
But I just told you that's not true. Shogun is someone else.
Shogun is Nishijiro Takumi. Enough excuses. I have proof that you were the first one to write whose eyes are those eyes. It was in an essay you wrote when you were younger. There is more than enough circumstantial evidence. You're the only one it can be. The only one. It wouldn't make sense otherwise. You killed my sister. That's not true. That's not true at all. I don't sleepwalk and I don't have multiple personalities either. Shogun does exist, but he isn't me. He's someone else, I swear. What comes to mind? What comes to mind when you look at this diary? Satisfaction from pushing my sister to the brink? From killing her? Satisfaction from pushing my sister so close to the brink you made her write this? Why did you do such a horrible thing? Why did you do such horrible things to her? Why did you kill Mia? Why? You're wrong, Yua. Everything you say is wrong. No, you're wrong. You committed murder. You killed her. Murderer. But this diary, isn't it yours, Yua? Huh? What? Yua looked puzzled. It had stuck out to me like a sore thumb ever since I'd first seen it. What was written on the front cover? Mia is Yua. Yua's diary. At first I thought I was just mistaken or something, but Yua had said exactly whose diary she thought it was. This is my little sister's diary. But if it was her sister's diary, shouldn't it have said Mia's diary? That's Yua's diary. It's written right there on the front. What are you talking about? Yua deliberately avoided looking at the front cover. This is Mia-chan's. The diary of my dead sister, Mia-chan. Mia-chan, who you killed. It's Mia-chan's. Mia-chan wrote it. Before she died, she wrote it herself. I'm telling you, look at the front cover. Terrified, I nervously pointed at the notebook. Without showing a hint of hesitation, Yua closed it and took a look at the cover. And when she did, she turned back toward me and said, Just like I thought, it's Mia-chan's diary. Huh? She must have seen it just now. There was no way she hadn't. Yua's diary was written right there. Written in bright red marker. So, how would she... It's the diary of Mia-chan. It's the diary Mia-chan always wrote in. Were you trying to deceive me? You could never, ever deceive me. I spent every waking moment out alongside Mia-chan. We'd been together ever since we were born. I know Mia-chan better than you ever will. I know her. Can you not see it, Yua? It's written right there. It says Yua's diary. Yua's hands suddenly shot up to her temples. Her face was warped in pain. You're wrong. This diary isn't mine. It's Mia-chan's. Man. After all, you've no way of knowing Nishijiro-kun. You have DID, multiple personalities. Oh, Yua has DID. Who are you? I'm Yua. Could it be that I'd never been the one with DID? It had been Yua all along. Does Kusanagi Mia actually exist? Had the police ever officially announced the identities of the group dive victims? Since she was a minor, they would have just called her Girl A or something, right? Or did you
really have a twin sister, Yua? While it was certainly possible that someone named Kusunoki Miya had existed and had died in the group dive, it was also possible that they were completely unrelated to Kusunoki Yua, the person standing in front of me right now. They could have simply been someone with an extremely similar name.
She exists.
Suddenly Yua wrapped her hands around my neck. Her fingers were oh so slender, and yet they harbored a terrifying amount of strength within them. I couldn't breathe.
She exists. She existed. Miya-chan existed. I know she did. I remember her clear as day.
Can you prove it? Yua's grasp weakened. Can you prove that you don't have DID? Can you prove that you aren't Kusunoki? Can you prove that you aren't Kusunoki Miya? I, for one, couldn't prove that I wasn't my alter ego. After all, the only way to prove that I wasn't Shogun would have been for him to show up next to me.
I can prove it.
Yua took her hands off my neck. She let the notebook fall to the floor. Miya-chan
had a mole.
Yua slowly began to remove her uniform's top.
Just under her left breast, she had a mole there, and I don't.
She unbuttoned her blouse one button at a time, her hands trembling impatiently as she did. I don't like this bit. Oh, and she does. Well, she didn't stop there. She went on to remove her bra too. Her fairly voluptuous breasts were covered only by her hands. She fumbled around, searching for a certain spot on her skin. I searched too with my eyes. And just under her left breast was a mole.
It's there. There's one there. But why? I shouldn't have a mole there. Who am I?
Yua's face grew pale as a ghost and her lips trembled in fear. Her eyes swam in place, gazing into the abyss as she wrapped her arms around herself. She didn't even care that she was still half naked.
I'm Yua. I'm a good girl. I've always been a good girl. Miya-chan's always been the difficult one. I always wanted to be the good girl. Miya-chan loved Yua-chan. Yua-chan was worried about Miya-chan.
Her ramblings gradually turned even more incoherent. I was pretty freaked out. But I knew I couldn't just abandon her and make a run for it. I knew full well exactly what mental state she was in, because I, until only a moment ago, had been in the exact same one. From the moment Yua had told me I had DID, I'd been suffering from non-stop anxiety, instability. So I really did understand. I knew what it was like to feel like your entire existence was one step away from crumbling to dust. I didn't know if she was suffering from DID or if it was something else entirely. But what I did know was that there was something wrong with her, and there always had been. I knew people could be two-faced, but she was far, far too good at it. It was still hard to believe that she'd been acting when we first met. The difference between her back then and her when she snapped was like night and day. So much so that it didn't even feel like the same person. Do you have DID, Yua?
No, she existed. I know she existed. I know Miya-chan existed.
Still covering her breast with one arm, Yua fished for something in the top she'd just taken off. She then took out her phone, hit a few buttons, and then showed it to me.
See? She's right there. The two of us are right there.
What? She did exist. There were definitely two people on the screen there. And the image didn't look edited either. Oh, creepy. I wonder what's going on. And we'll find out next time exactly whether there is a Miya and a Yua or whether they're the same person. Next time on Borderline Games. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head is what the episode is called. It's what the series is called. I will see you next time. Have a good evening. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye.